Hello, this is Bill Lindemann. I'm here again with Mike Siver for the Blue Seahorse Show and his special guest, Carrie Sluiter for Believers Business Center. And we just concluded a half hour about time management. And the subject is so interesting and so important that we thought we'd continue it. So, Mike, you want to start off?
All right, thanks, Bill.
Sure.
Yeah, we talked a lot in the first show about time management as adults, a little bit from the child's point of view, and how time management ends up having your name on it. So whether you're an on-time person or not, and what that represents and what people think of you. Carrie's going to carry on from more of a biblical sense of time management, and from the youth growing up learning time management, ethics, integrity, what's right and what's wrong, and morals from that point of view. So Carrie, if you'd like to start us out, we really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, glad to have your show being shared on ours. You know, I'm replacing ours because, you know, this is what it's all about, is teaching people and helping people to learn how to manage time and learn how to, you know, help them with areas of their lives. And of course, my main mission is teaching people to live in the promises, and we are living the promises. But as far as the time management goes, going back to the Bible, we were talking about, for example, the you know, when you give of your time, and you're working with time management in your giving of your time. When you're not on time with someone, they don't have trust in you. They lose it. You become that person. You have a tag. Oh, he's always late. Not going to be on time. People start expecting that of you, that you're either on time or you're late. And so anyways, going back to when you give to God your time, you know, one of the things that I talked about in my book was when God promises that he will give you back hundredfold. A lot of people may not really realize this, but it's when you give of your time to God, studying his word, and, you know, looking to him for answers, he gives you back, he owes you back time. If you're giving of your time to God, he owes you back hundredfold, up to hundredfold. And so when you're searching out God, and I had a couple of examples in my book in giving of my time to study the word and learning the word, it's no different than being organized in your life, but being prepared with the word. Same difference, because when you know the word in your heart and something happens, you can immediately put a stop to the destruction, or lift it in prayer. You know where to go in the word. That word have I hid in my heart, that I might not sin against thee. That's also a form of managing your time, managing your Christian time, because you can put a stop to the bad, you can lift up the good, you know. But one of the things I wanted to share real quick, Mike, on the subject of where we were talking about your book, talks about managing time with people. But mine, here I have a part in mine, like the Bible, so many things happen in life that document God's word. One book cannot contain it all. So I will leave you with these thoughts. When I came to God's word, and formed a personal relationship with him as a true father, I searched him and I searched his word daily with such excitement for what I had found. I could see the exactness of his word correcting the imperfections I had in my life with scientific precision. Like the tithe, the more time I gave to God in his word, the more time I had. Everything I had to do was done with time to spare. I could not outgive God. Even the night I searched his word until 4 a.m. I fell asleep at the steering wheel on the highway with the cruise control set at 72 miles per hour. An angel woke me up with one soft word, Carrie. As I opened my eyes, I saw a glance of a man sitting in the passenger seat, and he was driving my car with his left hand on the steering wheel. As I took hold of the steering wheel and looked back, he was gone. I thought about the rest of the drive home and realized how personal God is. It was my biological father's voice when I heard my name. He woke me up like when I was a child, so I wouldn't be startled. If you think you can't and don't have time to read, study, and search God because of your to-do list, remember this. The Bible says that God knows your need. He will fill it even better than you can, and you cannot outgive him. I'm going to stop there because this goes into the end of my book, and I hope people will buy it.
That's a powerful story. Right.
Yeah.
This book is full of stories like that, but this kind of reminds me of our topic and brings me to this topic that we're talking about. By the way, you can find the book at believersbc at Gmail or at believersbc.com, and Mike's too.
Right.
So back on the topic. That night, I was praying, I was searching that word. I was so excited about the Bible, and I was giving him my time to God. And he gave me back, because everything in my life was coming together, getting back in order. The more time I gave to God, the more time I had to spare. I'm going, wow, everything in my life was done. Things were in order. But it was also a form of time management, because I had, of course, God was managing my time, but because he would keep things from happening. When you're walking in fellowship with him and in a relationship, God will stop those little troubles. He can calm an ocean. He can part the Red Sea. He can do little things for me that's going to make my day nicer, and he will do those things.
Well, at that moment, he saved your life.
At that moment, he saved
everything that comes after was saved.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. So the point in all that is, bringing it back to your book and what we were talking about, is when we're managing our time, it's no different than when you know where you're going in life, and you have an agenda, you have an order for which you do things. Things are in order. They will run smoother. Things don't happen that could happen. There's so many things that we can relate to in today's world, based on even bringing it back to the Word of God. When you're turning to the Word, you're also using it, what we were talking about, learning from somebody else's mistakes.
Yeah.
God already gave us the answers. We don't need to keep floundering trying to find them, find new ones. He said, you're going to reap what you sow. Think about what seeds you're putting in the ground. If you're putting in a negative word, a bad attitude, or a slain word at a person you love, you're planting a seed. If you say, I don't like what you're doing, but I sure love you. What seed did you plant? We're planting seeds in life every day.
And that goes back to when a couple shows ago we did the sponge demonstration.
Yes.
When the sponge, like the small child, gets full, only comes out what was put in.
Right.
You squeeze a sponge full of dirty water, only dirty water comes out.
Right.
When a child grows up learning negativity, when he gets older enough to express himself or act on it, negativity comes out.
Right.
If he's blessed enough to be raised in a family where there's honesty, integrity, and morals, and with a bonus, having him follow the Word of God, then as he grows up, that's what comes out.
Right.
And if we don't know that or appreciate that, then we're going to have a lot of problems with our children growing up.
Yeah.
Part of what you were talking about there reminded me of a vision of a child having a birthday party, and not half the kids not turning up, and not calling, saying they weren't going to be there, and maybe one or two turning up quite a bit later, they don't blame the young kid doesn't blame the parents. He blames the other kid.
Yeah.
The other kid's at the mercy of his parents, but the little kid blames another little kid. Why didn't you come on time? Why weren't you here earlier? And the kids don't know unless we as adults teach them.
Right.
And
they know what we teach them.
yes, they do. Kids remember everything.
Oh, yeah. The words you use or the words they're hearing are the words that are coming out of them later.
Yeah. And we are responsible for that as adults.
Yes, we are.
And I sometimes feel I overstep my bounds a couple times. When, if I'm in a public place and there's a child really, really acting out, I sometimes may go up and say, is there anything I can do to help? Sometimes there isn't. Sometimes they tell me to go mind my own business, which is okay. But at least I feel I'm trying to do something. I'm working on trying to support that mother who's probably at her wit's end, or she's got some issues going on in her head that I know nothing about, and her life may be in turmoil, and she's maybe just barely holding it together, and appreciates someone coming up and saying, you seem to be a little distracted. Is there anything I can do to help you with your child? And sometimes I do help. They say, oh yes, can you, this, and this, and I'll just, whatever I'll do to help with a child. We don't hold ourselves accountable enough. There was a good show on today I was watching on the TV about a village raising a village. We've had that conversation before, about village raising children, being responsible, being accountable.
Right.
It doesn't happen as much anymore. And, we're talking around about time management, but it all gets back to what does the child going to be when he grows up? Does he have the responsibility and accountability to be on time?
Yes.
Where do you go from there? You're starting out with a young family right now, with your adopted children, your foster children, what's going on. You're going to be the role model that we're all going to be looking at.
And I'm still trying to get that your shoes go in this spot. But that goes back to the time management. Is you're training them when you teach them. You get up in the morning, you make your bed, your shoes go over here, your coat and your coat and your backpack. When you come in the door from school, goes here. We're sometimes the parents are the worst enemy because they don't stay on that hard enough until it's set. That this is the rule. There's no bending it. You're going to your room for the rest of the day if your backpack isn't on the hook. They're going to put their backpack on that hook. Especially if they've gone to the room instead of being able to go out and ride bikes with the other kids. But what we're training them, not just teaching them, but we're training them to have that routine of this goes here. When we go to their house when they're 30, their shoes are going to be by the door on a place.
I was just about to say, if you don't
They're
teach them then, they'll be repeating the same mistakes the rest of their life.
Exactly. If you just let it ride, let it go. But then that is like a snowball effect. We all know what it takes. You get a little bitty snowball. You start rolling it in the snow. It's no different than in your home. You have one person comes in and their shoes go over here, and another one goes over there, and another one coat goes over there. And all of a sudden the mom's going, this house is a mess, and then then you've got chaos. Then you're out of fellowship.
Yep.
You're reaping what you sow. When you're you're upset with the kids, and we're working on trying to get that balance. I actually had to go out and get coat hooks and little hooks where there's one for their coat and one for their backpack. I have racks. This is your book pad. This is your homework paper. Yours, your crayons. So, but was it worth my time in management to take the time to set up an area for homework that's for the kids? You want them to do a good job. Where do you set your priorities? When you have 5 children under the age of 12 doing homework, and you have a job in front of you.
Yep.
You need to manage that time. You have to have the management authority over those children and how the job gets done. Or you're running around, it's not getting done, so-and-so can't find theirs, and it's under a pile of papers over there. So I had to manage, make my priorities on my time to fix the problem and create a solution for the end result. Now, that is a matter of time management.
Yeah.
You're taking care of something today that in the future is going to save you a lot of time. How much time over the course of a lifetime, if you never put your shoes in the same place, if you calculated the time you spend looking for your shoes, how much time have you wasted just in that one little task?
Yeah. But something you said earlier, Bill, was reminded me of another saying, and I'm old and I got lots of sayings.
Okay.
The saying, and you've heard it, the saying is, you don't know what you don't know. And an example of that was the other day, well, about 4 or 5 months ago now, I put a young fellow into a program that's 2 or 3 different phases, and it's over a year long because he's had some addiction issues. So there was an opportunity for him about a week ago to come home, and he chose to come home. He manipulated the situation and got himself home, but now he's not thinking about going back to finish the program.
Yeah.
So his upbringing and his life, and we talked about this, because I said, if you think you know it all now, how much do you think you're going to know if you finish the program? I said, you will never know because you quit.
Yeah.
You'll never know what you don't know or how good your life will be unless you go back and finish the program. Well, he didn't want to go back. I don't know whether he's going to or not.
Yeah.
But I said that conversation to him in a group with his wife, and my wife was there, and some other people were there. So now he knows that everybody knows he quit the job, and he was okay with that until I had that conversation with him. I said, you need to finish your program. That way you're going to know what you didn't know before.
Right.
And I use that same back with children. Children don't know what they don't know unless we teach them. They don't know it's important to go to school and get ready at the right time, or the effect you have on other people. Mom and dad running around who you missed the school bus. All of a sudden, mom's got to get dressed because she's in her house coat, watching you out the front door, and the bus, you've already missed it.
Yeah.
Now she's got to get dressed, get ready, get in the car, and drive you to school, which is completely throwing out her day. Where does the appreciation for a young person come into that? And we talked a little bit about consequences for actions on a couple other shows.
Yeah.
But that also creates integrity. You know, there'll be a consequence if I don't do this. What role am I playing in this? It's up to us as adults. And it starts with time management, and that was the topic of our conversation.
Right.
But it's so much bigger than that.
Oh, it's huge.
It's so much more involved than just managing your time, because that's only the beginning. So, and you got a spot you're going to go on there for now?
Oh, I'm just listening and thinking here some words from the Bible. Proverbs 1:17 or 1:7. I mean, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. Then there's several of them in here about youth and kids. There's withhold not correction from thy child. Proverbs 29:17. Correct thy son, and he shall give thee rest.
Yeah.
If we're running rampant, trying to be a fireman, you know, we're a fireman running around putting out fires. We're frustrated, or people are unorganized and lack that. It's no different than not correcting your child. They will run you ragged. If your child, imagine a 2-year-old running your household and dictating what time you go to work. You know, what time you go to sleep. That doesn't even make sense.
You know, and you said, you know, firemen are the ones that put out fires all the time. Well, moms and dads do until the kids grow up.
Right.
But even firemen have got a structure.
That's right.
When they get to a fire, they know in what time frame they've got to do things. Certain things have to be done in a certain order. So even the people who are paid to put out fires have a structure.
If they didn't, they'd all be dead.
They would all be dead.
Sure. Yeah.
And we have to think like a fireman, I think. it's okay to put out a fire because kids are going to create fires. And I don't mean a literal fire. I'm talking about a
Right.
chaos and confusion.
Shoes all over the house.
Shoes all
Can't
over the
find
house
them when you're
is a-
ready to
is
go.
a-
You got to be there in 20 minutes, and they can't find their shoes.
In a house, that's a fire.
That's a fire.
That's a fire.
And
Put
guess
it
who's
out.
putting it out? Mom's running around. Where are your shoes? Then they're done that lately.
So we have to learn to be
Fix that.
good firemen in our own home. If we want to look for another analogy on how to
Yeah,
place it, but we have to have structure in our fire suppression efforts.
We have to manage our time and our efforts and using your time wisely.
Yeah.
That's a big part of time management, is
Yeah.
using your time wisely. If your paperwork is scattered all over and you can never find what you need, you know, it takes you 20 minutes to find a paper or a document, why not take an hour or two to make that your priority list of things to do? If every month you're having to race around looking to find the papers you need to do something, you're not effective in what you're doing. So take that hour or two to get it organized, put it in a book so you can reach up on the shelf and make your habit of putting those papers in that. It's a matter of time management. You're managing your time instead of your world managing you. Here's one that I looked at too, is in 3 John 1:4. I have no greater joy than to know that my children walk in truth.
Wow.
Now that's from God. You know, and I think I have no greater joy than to know my children know where their shoes go. And know whose turn it is to take out the garbage. And, you know, the routines, firm, fair, and consistent.
Yep.
You know, it's the same
Yeah.
thing,
Yep.
just a different way. It's time is my time is valuable. I want to have time to laugh and smile with the kids and read a book. And if I'm tripping over stuff because nobody's picking up anything. So I have no greater joy than to know my children know where their things go. I'm loving that.
Well, there's another thing that I think and we dealt with it when we were younger through my mom, because she was a single mom with 7 of us. And what she wouldn't do is holler through the house. If you want to talk to her, she won't listen to you unless you're standing in front of her, looking at her.
Okay.
I don't want to misunderstand what you're saying, she used to say. I don't want to misunderstand what you told me. So don't holler at me from your bedroom when I'm in the kitchen.
Right.
And I'm not going to holler at you when you're in your bedroom and I'm in the kitchen.
Okay.
I will come to your door and open your door and talk to you, so there's no misunderstanding about what I'm asking you to do. My mom was great on communication skills.
Okay.
She worked really hard on that with us, amongst other things. But that's something that today is a pet peeve of mine. When I'm in a house and all of a sudden the people are screaming through the house. I don't like that at all. I don't deal with that very well.
Yeah.
Because I think if you want to talk, have it clear enough to talk to each other. A little bit of, again, ethics. I go back to raising when you're young. If I want to make sure I'm understood, then I either have to write it down clearly so you can understand it, or talk to you face to face. Now, maybe a little raising voice across the room might not be to get attention, but then you walk over and you touch them. I lived a lot of times in Asia, and it's really common over there for anybody, male or female, and men to men, if I'm talking to you, I'm going to put my hand on your elbow. That means I'm talking to you.
Okay.
That means this is a personal conversation to you from me, and I'm touching you to let you know that you're the intended receiver of my conversation. And it took me a while to get used to doing that. But they do that to you. If they're talking to you, they'll reach over and put their hand on your elbow. And I thought, oh, what's this guy doing, you know? But it was clear communication, saved all kinds of time. We get back to time management. I didn't have any problem understanding what he was talking about because he got my attention. And he was talking to me. And I learned a lot over there in the different ways of communicating, which saves so much time.
Exactly. I have when my daughter was younger, and even Aaron when he was younger, before we had the other kids, if I called out for them to come downstairs, if they were upstairs, I would say, Ashley, you know, yell up the stairs a little bit. And the rule was, if she couldn't come to the stairs right then and come to me, she had to say, I'm on my way, I'm coming, to acknowledge that she heard me.
Right.
So I'm not wondering and yelling out again and again. I said, come here. That she had to acknowledge, and so did Aaron. That was our rule, was to acknowledge that you heard me. And I can go back and you do finish what you're doing, you know. So it's communication. We're teaching our children and teaching other people. We're training them as to how they treat us.
Yep.
I think that's a part of one of your books.
Yep.
You know, we're training people how to treat us. If we allow them to just ignore us and say, well, I didn't hear you, well, how are you going to argue with that if they didn't hear you? But most of the time, if you know kids, they heard you, they just didn't want to come at that time.
Yeah.
Or they should know to listen to your voice, just like we have to listen to God's voice. We're training our children to listen to us, so when they get older, they will listen to their other authoritative figures, whether it be God, their boss, their wife or spouse, you know, their children. They will listen.
And that's part of what I
teach them those skills.
And that follows on to what I just talked about.
Right.
You know, it's saying if you talk to them or holler at them or shout through a room or whatever, and they say they don't hear you, well, you have no proof that they did hear you.
Right.
Yeah.
You really don't know. You suspect they did, and they're playing with you, but you can't prove it. Like my mom said, she would come to my face, and there was no doubt in my mind that I knew what she said.
Yeah.
And she knew I could not say I didn't hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand you. If I didn't understand, I'd have to say, I don't understand. Explain to me what's going on, and then we'd be okay.
Yeah, one of the things I hate is when parents or people count. One.
Oh.
Not going to tell you again. Two. Okay. Good
Yeah.
thing the car is gonna. You know. Hope there's not a car coming. You know.
Well, we've had that conversation too before.
Right.
And the one, two, three is you've taught them that they got 3 chances.
Yeah, they can ignore you the first 2 times you talk to them. Hello.
Because nothing's going to happen the first 2
No.
times. So.
And hopefully there's not an emergency. That's like the boy calling wolf.
Yeah.
You know, crying out wolf. You know, if there's an emergency and you come in and, well, God's in it. Oh, hey, listen up. I need to tell you something. No, we have to recognize the authoritative figures instantly.
You know, we can sit here and we can make a little fun of it because we were all, you know, we lived through it.
Yeah.
We're here today,
Sure.
and some
It's
things I
serious.
look back on now are humorous, but it's really serious.
It is very serious.
This is a really serious subject that
Right.
a lot of parents don't think is as important as it is. And granted, parents today are struggling. Both parents working today. You know, finances aren't as good as they maybe want them to be. So there's a lot of issues go on. But still, these kids cannot go up without the direction, without some boundaries, without some care and consideration of other people. And we let that happen. You know, we talked about it last week on all the shootings that are going on. And it's happening every day. One just happened yesterday in Oregon, where a high school kid shot a freshman in high school. What's happening?
Yeah.
You know, I guess you can blame parents up to a point, but the community's involved too. So where do we go?
Oh, there's a lot of involvement from the community because there's so much more control now from the government side, not the community as a whole. That, you know what, I'm going to tell your mother if you don't act straighten up. You don't behave this way because you know they're going to tell your mother or they're going to say something. But there's so many rules that say you can't and how you have to raise your children nowadays. That the most important thing is being consistent with the way that you handle the kids.
Yeah.
Big part of it.
Yeah.
If there's no rules that you're firm, fair, and consistent on, I
That's
like
right.
that.
Firm, fair, and consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get in the car, you put on your seatbelt. You don't get out of your seatbelt. I mean, can you imagine 4 kids getting out of the car and just doing what they want, and you're screaming at them, you're pulling over all the time? I mean, you can't let the kids rule you. They don't do that, by the way. But I can't even imagine not having control of the children. You know, and the rule is they get in the car and they know the rules, so they don't push those boundaries.
Well, it's sad when
Well,
a teacher.
I think we're out of
No,
time.
We're out of time
Okay.
again? Okay.
I just
All
want
right.
to end in one note, you know, just to show how important it is. When you make a major change or you do something important, you know, a change in your life, the thing that comes to mind is, I got my life back.
Yeah.
Which means you
Yes.
saved your whole life,
Yep.
not just a few minutes.
That's right.
So it's how important it is.
It is
to
important.
change.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think we had a terrific show
All
about
right.
how important time is. And we can get our lives back if we know how to, if we learn how to use our time.
Yes,
No
we
matter
can.
how much we lost, we can get it back again.
Yep.
That's right.
So this is Bill Lindemann for Mike Siver and the Blue Seahorse Show, and Carrie Sluiter from the Believers Business Center. And we'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Thanks, Bill.
Bye.